I'm Augustus. I'm traveling the United States to listen to the people I meet and to tell them about my candidacy for the presidency of the United States in 2028. I'm here in Boston, Massachusetts, at the State House. Standing atop Beacon Hill, its famous golden dome, gilded by Paul Revere's Copper Company, shines as a beacon for the entire Commonwealth. This building isn't just a seat of government, it's a monument to the birth of American liberty. It was here in Boston that the cradle of liberty was first rocked, where the tea went into the harbor, and where the idea of a self-governing people took root in the face of an empire. The motto of Massachusetts is Ense petit placidam sub literatate quiatam. By the sword we seek peace, but only peace under liberty. It's a reminder that peace isn't just the absence of conflict, it's the presence of freedom and justice. But for many of you today, that peace is interrupted by the high cost of simply existing in the state you love. They call this the Bay State and the spirit of America. From the innovation labs of Cambridge to the fishing docks of Gloucester and the rolling hills of the Berkshires, Massachusetts has always been the brain and the heart of this country. But I know that Yankee ingenuity is being tested like never before. You're facing some of the highest healthcare costs in the nation and a housing crisis that is forcing the very people who make Boston run to move further and further away from the city center. This is the 46th capital of my 50+1 Capitals tour. My plan seems obvious and necessary to me, but for other presidential candidates, it could be considered unnecessary, maybe even a waste of time. The plan is to visit every capital in this country over the course of about 60 days, not to give motivational speeches, but to listen. I want to hear about how the struggle of the MBTA and how transportation reliability affects your daily life. I want to hear about the burden of student debt in a state that prides itself on education, and why the Massachusetts model for healthcare still leaves so many of you worried about the next deductible. My priority isn't asking you to carry more, it's making sure that we take the weight off your back. Unfortunately, it seems like we're being led by people who only care about the next 24 hours, while you're focused on the next 24 years. They're focused on their bank accounts while you're focused on feeding your family. To lead in Massachusetts, you have to be honest enough to say what everyone already feels. When a young family can't afford a starter home in the same town they grew up in, something is broken. It's not just the system, it's the reality that getting ahead has been replaced by getting by. You're working twice as hard to stay in the exact same place. To lead the whole country, you have to know the whole country. And you can't know the country from a high-flying jet, a speeding motorcade, or a gilded office in DC. You have to drive the Mass Pike, walk the Freedom Trail, cross the mighty Mississippi, and visit the beautiful Smoky Mountains. Having lived in 7 states and visited all 50 at least once before, I think I have a glimmer of understanding of who we, the people of the United States, are. But you can never stop learning. That's why I'm visiting each state again, and why I will continue to do so both during my campaign and during my time in office. Now you're probably thinking, who is this guy? As I said, I'm Augustus. I was born 65 years ago in New York State. Like you, I've spent much of my life working. I've seen presidents come and go, and industries rise and fall. And I've seen as the people who actually make this country run are treated as sheep or cattle. We've stopped looking at the person behind the work, and it's time we started seeing the human being again. You may be asking yourself, is he qualified? The Constitution says I am. You need to decide for yourself what qualified means to you. To me, being qualified means working as hard as I can to help the most people possible as President of the United States. Think about the people who meet in this capital or in Washington, D.C. How many of them are qualified in your eyes? How many of them are working to make your housing affordable or your prescription drugs manageable? It seems to me that many representatives have forgotten the primary requirement of their jobs, remembering who they represent. They shouldn't represent the lobbyists, they shouldn't represent their party, and they definitely should not represent the ultra-rich. Your representatives, and the President of the United States, should represent you. Period. I stand for the people, not for corporations that treat employees like disposable parts, not for the rich who treat the law as a suggestion, and not for the special interests who think their way is the only way. I believe in a land of freedom and opportunity. Why consider an unaffiliated, unconventional, independent candidate like me? Maybe because you're exhausted. You're sick and tired of having to choose between generic candidate A and generic candidate B, neither of whom has had to decide between a medical bill and a grocery run. While a vote for a candidate who isn't a member of one of the 2 major parties can be scary, Isn't it scarier to have to choose between bad and worse? Consider this: in a true three-way race, a person with more than 33% of the votes can win the state. Choose to vote for someone who will actually work to make your lives better, instead of more of the same from the two major party candidates. Vote from compassion, not fear. I'm headed to Augusta, Maine next. I have 4 capitals and a few hundred miles yet to go. When you see me in your state later this year, don't just take a picture. Come over and say hello. Tell me what's keeping you up at night. Tell me what you want for your children. I'm Augustus, and I'm here to listen. I'll see you in the state where you live. When you see me in your state later this year, don't come over. Don't come over. Don't come over. No. Okay. I itch. Okay. I itch. Okay. How many of them are working to make your housing? But I know that Yankee and I might post of that. Don't tell anybody. Where am I? Quiatam. Quiatam. Huh, I don't know. And tell them about my candidacy for the presidency of the United States. Wow, that was really horrible.